FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Now, there are some downsides to the self-confidence, which I'm going to dwell upon a bit. The first, trying to do too many things. For 6 months, there were 131 initiatives. This was at a time when they were woefully understaffed. They did and still have great trouble appointing people to government jobs because it turns out nobody in this country pays their taxes. So they'd ask so-and-so to take a job, and they'd say, I'd love to work for you, but a little tax problem I should tell you about, and this would go on. Second, spending too much money. In 2019, we will have $9.8 trillion in new debt. The interest payments on the debt alone in 2019 will be $900 billion, which is greater than the budget for the Defense Department or anything else. Third, they have a tremendous faith in planning and the power of getting smart people together and just solving problems with a collection of smart people. If you saw the president's speech about the oil spill, he emphasized getting the smartest people in the room and just solving the problem. Well, there are some problems it's better to have decentralized people. Maybe they're not so smart, but they're there on the ground, and I think they have sometimes an excessive faith in smart people. I think that's evident in the financial regulatory reform bill, this faith that smart bureaucrats can anticipate market failures or market booms. It's true in the healthcare bill where they have boards deciding on which procedures should be used nationwide. And so I have some anxiety about their faith in smart people. And finally, an addiction to home runs. They have these debates on issue after issue. This is one of the running arguments in the White House. Should we swing for singles or should we swing for home runs? Something modest and forward or something big and walloping? And Obama always wants to do the home run. And now I'm a fan of the New York Mets, and those of us who are Mets fans or those who are Cubs fans will be familiar with a guy named Dave Kingman. Dave Kingman was a home run hitter. He would hit a 500-foot home run once a month and strike out in between. And so some of us like home runs. But I think the ultimate confidence, and this was the most unfortunate for them, was a faith that they could mold the country. That you could go to the White House and that from the top, from government, you could change the country in fundamental ways. And so they came to the country thinking it was a country, they were in the New Deal, and there was a chance to really reshape America very radically, very quickly in these circumstances. And to me, this was a failure of humility. A craftsman has to understand the material he or she is working with. And I do think, whatever one thinks of the policies, I think there was less of a perceptiveness about where the American people were and what the emotional mood of the American people has been over the past year. This is a country, since the crash, that's extremely anxious. And I think the administration has exacerbated that anxiety by trying to change so much all at once. This is a country somewhat ashamed of itself for piling on so much debt, and yet this administration, like the last one, has incurred more and more debt, and I think raised that anxiety. This is a country with no faith in authority. If you ask people, do you trust government to do the right thing most of the time? From the 30s through the 60s, it was 80%. Now it's about 19%. That's, to me, is the most important polling statistic in the country, by the way. And so you have an anxious country, very suspicious of centralized power. And they did centralize power. And so I thought that was a misreading of the country, a belief that you shouldn't fully respect where the country is, but you could try to change it. And so that has produced a political reaction, a strong political reaction. We see the rise of the Tea Parties, but that's not really the key to the political reaction. The key movement in the electorate is in the center of the electorate. Obama carried independents quite handily in the last election, and now they're running away from him. So the number of Americans who think the Democratic Party is too liberal has gone up by 20%. The Democratic favorability rating has gone down by 22%. Democratic Party ID has gone down 11%. There's been a reaction to the right in this country on issue after issue, ranging from gun control to abortion to global warming to the role of government. And that's sort of the recoil of the independents. Just not sure of the guy. And so I think one of the essences of humility is to know what country you're dealing with and not try to think you can change it, because the people will have minds of their own and they'll react against you. And most political analysts I talk to in Washington think Republicans will take control of the House in this election and suffer very bad setbacks in the Democrats. And I think that was whatever. Thank you, 5% who are here. And so whatever one thinks of the policies, if you're going to lead a nation, I think it's important to know what nation you're dealing with.